You're listening to The Traditional Millennial with Brittany Dotson, where conventional meets contemporary and faith fills the gaps. What's up, y'all? We are back on The Traditional Millennial. I am your host, Brittany Dotson, and today's episode, I feel like a lot of women probably won't like my take on this topic, but what I'm hoping is going to happen is that it can invoke some sense of understanding over contention and that we can all stay friends after this episode. That's the hope here. Okay? So, y'all, listen. Don't turn around. Don't stop listening. Now that I've said that, don't come in and, come to this episode with a mindset that you disagree. Come with an open mind and an open heart to hear what I have to say. It might not be as bad as you think, or I don't know. It's just going to depend on how you're going to take it. But anyway, we're just going to go ahead and jump right into it. So I've heard this particular word being bandied about a lot, and I was just recently reminded of its implications after watching a video on Instagram. So this older gentleman, I guess he was older. I don't know. I probably shouldn't have said that. I don't know how old this man was. Anyway, this man, we're just going to leave it at that. This man was talking about how women should not pursue men. And he was saying that the first sign of leadership in a relationship is the man pursuing the woman. Then he said that, like, in today's times, he was talking about how men want women to do all the work. They're telling women shoot their shot, and they're wanting women to pursue them and chase after them. And then the video on Instagram ended with him saying, "Ain't no dude, no prize. The woman is the prize." So kind of cliffhanger there, left us, like what's next? But anyway, while I do agree that women should not pursue men, they should not show interest, express interest, maybe, but pursue a man, absolutely not. While I do agree with that, I do get just a little bit disconcerted with certain language that we use to delineate what relationships should look like. And then I get a little disconcerted too when we do this or we approach relationships with this one size fits all, and we try to group everybody in the same category. But anyway, for the sake of today's discussion, we're going to talk about him addressing the prize and women being the prize and men not being the prize. So, while some men will say that manly men do the pursuing, which, they do, could it not be said, this is just a question, this is not my mindset, this is not how I feel about it, I'm just asking a question here. Could it not be said that it's somewhat of a hyper masculine or a patriarchal trait to consider a woman a prize? I don't know. Just a little question I'm throwing out there to just jumpstart the conversation. But let's talk about this. So what exactly is a prize? So per the Merriam-Webster dictionary, I'm going to read this. A prize is something offered or striven for in competition or in contest of chance. It's also something exceptionally desirable, or another definition was a contest for a reward. So for the sake of today's discussion, we are going to look at all three of these briefly in view of our relationships. Now, when we look at it, most men and women, when they say that women are the prize, they are more than likely saying this to mean that the woman is the one that needs to be won. Like, she is the one that the man should be working for. She is the reward, and she is the one that needs to be striven for. She's the one that you need to be taking a chance on, right? And this thinking is what the first and the third definition would be descriptive of. So, something offered or striven for in competition or a contest for a reward. This is what those two would be describing. Now, the problem with this that I think this creates is that it encourages a mindset that elevates another human being or an image bearer over another to the point that it causes women to see themselves in a way that God doesn't honor, nor does he approve. Remember over in Philippians 2, it tells us, it tells us not to do anything from selfish ambition or conceit, but it says in humility, count others or esteem others more significant or higher than yourselves. And then it says, look, each of you, not only to your own interest, but to the interest of other people. This was not a message to men about women, but this was a message to all believers, to everybody. If you look at the Bible and the language of the Bible never refers to the woman as the prize. But it does say a couple of things about a good wife or about a good woman or a desirable woman. So of course, we all know what Proverbs says about the man who finds a wife, he finds a good thing and he obtains favor from the Lord. And then over in Proverbs 31, it talks about the virtuous woman and how she is far more precious than jewels or rubies, in her heart and the heart of her husband trust in her, and he has no lack of gain, and she'll do him good and not any harm all the days of her life, and so on and so forth. And then it talks about the excellent wife being the crown of her husband. It didn't say she was the prize of her husband, but she was a mark of honor for her husband. And then it talks about how a wise or a prudent wife is from the Lord. So it says all of these things about a good woman, but it never calls her a prize. None of these indicate that a woman is a prize. But what it does indicate is that a good woman is a gift. And so to deem women as the prize, all women may try to put themselves in this category, but all women are not prizes, nor are all women gifts, actually. Because just like the Bible talks about the good woman, it also talks about the bad one. But I believe that thinking about ourselves as women, as prizes, can sometimes cause us to develop a sense of pride about ourselves that is void of the humility of Christ. You know, it can cause us to desire things from men that reach beyond the reality of what we have to offer that is of value to someone. And it can also just promote a mindset that has us putting ourselves in an irrational place of perfection. Hence, what we can start to do, we can start to elevate ourselves and our expectations, and we can begin to expect the perfect man to come along because we have deemed ourselves the perfect prize, in a sense. Because viewing yourself, and this is just Brittany talking, but viewing yourself as the prize means that you have to look at yourself as being worthy of being won based on how you measure yourself. Now, don't get me wrong, and I don't want y'all to think that this is what I'm saying. In no way, shape, or form am I saying that you should devalue yourself. You know, we should value who we are, but that value should not be based on the value that we assign ourselves. That value should be based on the value that we've been given through Christ. So now we discussed all that. Let's look at or talk about the second definition of prize, which was something exceptionally desirable. Now, looking at this definition, it can also pose some dissonance to the premise of what men and women mean when they say that women are the prize. So when we think about relationships, men and women both should want someone who is suitable, exceptional, and desirable. So to say that women are the prize is almost excluding exceptionally desirable men from this category, because they do exist, but it's almost as if they don't exist. And so to do this, are not women now contradicting their own preference for a love interest? Like, if the woman is the only prize, if she is the prize, or if she is the exceptionally desirable one, then would she not be settling for any man that she now chooses? Or maybe we should think like this. Shouldn't we all, men and women both, based on this definition, just view each other when we meet this criterion as the prize? Would this not now make exceptionally desirable women and men both the prize, if we're going to use that language? I mean, I'm just saying. It just makes sense to me. When we use the word prize, it has a way of making our relationships like competition-based acquisitions instead of spirit-led appointments. Even if they were included in this prize language, we should not want a prize. We should want God's good and perfect gifts. And although none of us are perfect, we're imperfect people, but what comes from God is going to be perfect for us. As a woman, I said as a woman, like I'm not a woman, but me as a woman, I am a woman. But anyway, I wouldn't want a prize. I would want a priestly man, a man who can pour into me, who can lead, who can help me, advise me, love me, adore me, respect me, lean on me, cover me, pray for me. And I would want him to see me in the same way. Someone who is suitable, a suitable helpmeet for him, someone who can walk alongside him, build him up, hold him up, be a place of refuge for him when he needs to be weak, adore him, cherish him, serve him, love him, and respect and value him. I would want him to know those things about me as they concern him and how I view him. And those are things that matter. I mean, of course, there are other things that matter in relationships, but those things matter. It's not about who's the prize and who needs to be won and who and all this. I get it. I get that men are to pursue a woman, but he should not be pursuing a woman in terms of winning her because she's a prize to be won. He should be pursuing her because he's pursuing purpose for his life. When I think about the word prize, what honestly immediately comes to mind is what Paul said again in Philippians when he said, I press toward the mark for the prize of the upward call of God in Christ Jesus. That's what comes to mind. Y'all, the real prize is heaven, a place that we go when we have God's seal of salvation and stamp of approval to enter. People are not prizes. People are flawed but beautiful beings who are capable of good things, virtuous things, godly things, things that can cause us to be good helpmeets to one another and can edify and build each other up. So, something that we should consider is maybe, just maybe, I don't know. You decide this, but maybe we should choose different language as it deals with people, because if we're pleasing God, we'll all eventually get the prize. And it's not another human being. It's an eternity with Christ. He's someone we should be working towards. So when we think about relationships, we think about being with people, and we think about how the dynamics of relationships work, we should not be seeing people and seeing relationships as competitions. There are no prizes in relationships, but there is love, there's unity, and there's purpose, amongst a whole host of other beautiful things, all things that you hope to find in the person that you choose. All right, y'all, that is a wrap for today's episode. I hope that it sheds light on some of the things that we say and do concerning relationships. I don't know. Maybe it gives you something to think about. Maybe you'll change your language. Maybe you won't. I don't know. But at least I put it out there for you. Thank you again for tuning in to the Traditional Millennial, where conventional meets contemporary and faith fills the gaps. I'm on the mountaintop, I know you're good. Deep down in the valley low, you are still good.